This is the Kovalev Pro Curve, and normally I'd begin by showing you a top-down view of the curve, but in this case, what you really want to see is the blade profile. That's what makes this blade so unique and also makes it so good at what it does best. The curve itself is pretty unique also. It starts off pretty flat with a little bit of loft and then a nice little toe hook at the end. The blade is about an inch longer than a standard blade like the P92, making it great for stick handling and cradling the puck. Most of the time when I show you the comparison between each of the Pro curves and the P92, you can see some similarities because a lot of the curves came from a P92 initially and just had adjustments made over the years, but these two curves are like a married couple after 10 years. They have absolutely nothing in common. Kovalev is completely different from these other people who just slightly modify the P92 and call it their own curve. He looks like he forged this thing out of a loose tree branch that he found on the ground. The blade's just so unique, from the curve to the blade shape. Everything about it is just completely different from anything else that anyone has ever thought of. I have no idea how Kovalev came up with this, but it does really work for what it's best at. Looking at the blade profile comparison with the P92, you can see it's just about an inch longer and it's also quite a bit thinner. The heel's especially unique because if you look at the transition from the taper into the heel, there's barely any difference in the thickness. Anyone who's seen Kovalev's skill video that he filmed maybe 10 or 15 years ago where he's taking one-handed backhand shots probably expects me to do the same, and I did try it. I probably gave myself permanent rotator cuff damage, but just know that I tried and failed miserably. This definitely isn't a shooter's curve, but it's pretty versatile in terms of different types of shots that you can take, so I was trying some pull and drag shots here and definitely had a bit of an issue with accuracy, but overall, pretty decent shots that you can get off here. Flipping to the other side with a dangling curve like this, obviously you're going to have to know how to shoot in stride, so I was trying to shoot off my strong foot here and found it pretty successful. It's not as good as some other curves for those castle type snappers, but definitely gets the job done. For shot mechanics here, again, dangler's curve, so most of the time you're just going to be flipping the puck up from like 3 feet out, but if you need to do a pull and drag shot, it works well for that. If you need to do a shot in stride from 10, 15 feet out, you can definitely get that done. Saucer passes with this curve are something special, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you about it, I'm just going to show you. Saucer passes with this curve are perfect. They come off the blade so crisp, and they're just effortless. It's all around an absolute dream for sauce. Again, I don't know how Kovalev came up with this blade shape, but it's just perfect with that thin heel. You can get them off quickly, and then it has a little bit of loft to make sure every pass is nice and crispy. For each pro curve, they're not just making up their own curve for fun just to say they have their own curve. Each one has its specialty, and Kovalev's specialty was stick handling. This curve is absolutely exceptional for stick handling. Everything about it, from the blade shape to the amount of toe to the length of the blade, makes it perfect. I don't know what kind of deal with the devil Kovalev made as a trade for this blade shape, but whatever it was probably worth it. This thing is so good. It's just perfect and I don't understand why. I can't put it into words. The only way that you can experience this is if you try it for yourself, because it's truly one of a kind and it's something special for sure. Kovalev is right up there with Datsuk for being like the king of dangles, but he was also highly criticized for being super lazy, so that sounds right up my alley. Like a guy who doesn't really like to move all that much, but still loves to stick handle. This curve, just like for stick handling, makes no sense why it's so good. I don't understand what Kovalev could have possibly done to make this so perfect and so smooth for any possible move that you want to make. He must have sat there just like in a room for years, just doing different calculations, measuring different angles, calculating, if I change this slight variation on the blade, it makes this different. It doesn't make sense to me, and I have a good understanding of curves, but I still just don't understand this. It's way over my head. The thing with dangling with this curve is that it's honestly unbelievable sometimes. It's like an extension of your own hands. Like, that's how much control you have over the puck with this curve. You'll be making moves, and then after you'll be sitting there like, did I seriously just pull that off? Like, how did that even make sense? It's really like something you need to experience for yourself, because I can't accurately describe to you how unique this blade shape is, how perfect every angle of the curve is, how much detail he put into designing this blade. It's really something else. We've already done the stick handling, the dangles. That's what this curve is for. It's not specialized for one-timers, but for consistency, we're still doing one-timers. So it's really not a one-timer curve, but it's not like every shot's going bottom bar with this one. They're definitely not consistent. They're definitely not super accurate, But if you had to take a one-timer with this curve, then you could get it done, for sure. Chances are if I received a pass in the slot when I was using this curve, I'd probably go in, try to break some ankles, and then seriously damage the goalie's confidence, but if you really wanted to take a one-timer, you could get it done. For shooting, it's definitely good, but not as good as a P92. You can have a bit of versatility, whether you like to pull and drag, whether you like to shoot in motion, but overall I'm only going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 for shooting. For saucer passes, this is like a dream curve, just beautiful, smooth, crispy, effortless saucer passes. I'm going to give it a 9.3 out of 10 for saucer passes. This blade shape and this curve was just made to stick handle. You have such a good cradle on the puck, it feels so comfortable, so effortless, really quick, and the long blade, you don't notice it at all. It actually makes it better, and I'm going to give it a 9.2 out of 10 for stick handling. For dangling, this curve makes you feel better than you actually are, which is the goal with any curve. It's to make you better, and it leaves you thinking that you can really pull off any possible move that you can think of. So I'm going to give it a 9.2 out of 10 for dangles. For one-timers, again, you can get them off if you really need to, but it's not quite as good as the P92. I'm going to give it a 7.8 out of 10. And with the 7.5 for shooting, 9.3 for sauce, 9.2 in stick handling and dangles, and a 7.8 for one-timers, the total average score for the Kovalev curve is an 8.6 out of 10. I'd recommend this curve to players who like to dangle, who like to break ankles, throw some saucer passes, and maybe shoot once in a while, but not too much. Last thing, we just put out some new inventory on ProStockHockeySticks.com, so there's still a few gems left in there, but if you missed out on what you wanted, just follow us on Instagram at ProStockSticks and you won't miss out. Thanks for watching.